Okay, so there are 4 different ways to do the multiple representation. We have representing it by word problems. We can represent it by words. We can represent it, what's our next way of representing it? Through an equation. I hope everyone's paying attention. What's another way that we can represent it? Through a table. We can put our data on a table. Or we can what?
Put it on a graph.
We can put it on a graph. All right. So our word problem. Billy Bob.
I thought it was Bob.
Well, it's Billy Bob now. Billy Bob is traveling across the country. Okay, he's going to be driving a car, and it cost him gas, cost, let me think. We'll do 6. We'll make it easy. $5 per gallon. Okay? So he's going to have to fill up his tank, and we're trying to figure out how much he's going to spend to fill up his tank or whatever. Okay. So this is just an easy little word problem. So Billy Bob is traveling across the country. Gas costs $5 per gallon. So what's our key word in here? Per gallon. All right, so whenever we are writing our equation, remember it has to be y equals mx plus b. So this right here signifies our what? What is this called? Let's look at yesterday. This is our slope. This is going to be what is changing. So what is going to be changing? The cost per, well, how much we're spending, right? So the more gallons, the more gas we put in our tank, the more it's going to what? The more it's going to cost, right? Okay. So let's write our equation now. So y equals what? Where's this 5 going to go? Y'all can just tell me. Like,
it's gonna be M because X is our gallon because
how many gallons? Yeah. So yes. Okay. So our y is dependent on our x, correct? So our x is going to be how many gallons we're getting. All right. So let's talk about our y-intercept. Let's talk about our extra now. Do we have an extra?
No.
No. So do we have to put +0?
No.
Or can we just leave it off? We can just leave it off. So whenever you are looking at problems, or if it asks you a question and there's no y-intercept, there's no starting point, this tells us that it's what kind of relationship? Proportional. Okay, it's a proportional relationship. Now that we have all that, let's go ahead and plug our information into a table. So let's create our table. We have our x and we have our y. Our x is what? Is it our independent or our dependent? Our independent. Our independent, or what's it also called?
It's supposed to be your input?
Yes. And if y'all can't keep up with this or you don't have good handwriting, then I'll give you a copy of ours in a little bit, okay? All right, so whatever we put into our x, it changes our what? It changes our y. So we have our y is dependent on our X. So is the output. Okay, I'll give y'all a second to catch up just a little bit. Y'all good? Yeah, like 30 more seconds.
Well, I also need to write this.
Don't worry about this. I'll help you with that. All right, so let's prove. Let's look at this for a second. So if we start with 0, if we put 0 into our tank, how are we going to figure out what our Y is? We're going to plug it into our what? Remember, these two things what go together. So Y equals, this tells us how we're going to get our Y. So how are we going to get our Y? What do we have to do? We have to do, so Y equals $5 times, now what if we put 0 gallons in our tank? What is 5 times 0? 0. So this tells us we can kind of start thinking about what our graph is going to look like. So whenever we're graphing this, where is our line going to start? The origin is going to start at 0, 0, which automatically tells us is what kind of, there you go. Okay, so let's say we put 1 gallon in. Let's write out our equation. So Y equals 5 times 1. So how much will it cost us to put 1 gallon of gas in? $5. Okay. What about if we put 2 in? So we'll do 5 times, instead of X, what does our X represent now? 2. So what's 5 times 2?
10.
10. It's going to cost us $10. Okay, so y'all see if y'all can go ahead and fill in the rest of our table.
Up to what?
Let's do 3, 4. We'll just do 5. We'll keep it simple. That's fine. You're just going to have more data, which is perfectly fine. Okay, so we're going to do Y equals 5 times 3 gallons. So we'll spend $15. And then I'm just going to continue filling in our table. So 5 times 4, we're going to spend $20. And then 5 times, if we get 5 gallons, how much are we going to spend? $25. And we can label that up here. $25. Okay. Now let's get our ordered pair. Okay, let's figure out what our ordered pairs are so we can put some dots on our graph. Remember, our dots on our graph, or our points, our data points on our graph, are ordered pairs. So what's this ordered pair going to look like? 0, 0, inside what? Our parentheses. So 0, 0. I don't know if that can really be seen. Let me get a different one. 0, 0. Okay, that's a little better. Okay, what about this one? 1 and 5. And then 2 and 10. We have 3 and 15. 4 and 20. And then we have 5 and 25. Okay, cool. So now we have enough information to go over and put our data on a graph, our final representation for this. Okay, and y'all don't have graph paper right now. So do we need to do all 4 quadrants? Or can we just stick to our one quadrant over here? Just the one. What quadrant is that we're going to be using? Quadrant 1. So all of our data is going to go in quadrant 1. So I'm going to just draw quadrant 1. Okay? Like a big L. So this is quadrant 1. Because all my numbers are what? Are they negatives or they're all positive? So quadrant 1 shows us positive numbers. All right, so let's look at our x. Let's look at our x's. So what do we think we want to label our x-axis? Okay, so we're starting at, this is what? Our origin. Remember, this is called our origin. And our origin is at 0, 0.
That's the first dot.
So our first dot is at 0, 0. Now, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoever went further than that, y'all can go further than that if you want to, okay? Now, let's look at our y data points. What do you think we should go by? Y'all want to go by 5s? Okay. So let's do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and I'm going to go one more, 30. Okay. And y'all's graphs aren't going to be perfect. I'll give y'all graph paper later on. But for this is just us taking notes, okay?
Okay.
Alright, so our first point we already verified is at 0, 0, which tells us our graph is proportional. Unlike yesterday's, did our line go through 0, 0?
Yeah.
Where did it start?
At 10.
It started at 10. So that tells us it's a non-proportional. If it goes through our origin, if it goes through 0, 0, then it is proportional. If it does not, then it is non-proportional. All right? So our first point is at 0, 0. Our second point is at what? 1 and 5. So we have to walk into the house before we can go up or down the stairs. So we're going to go across on our x-axis. We have our x-axis and our y-axis. We go over 1 and up to 5. And you put your point. Okay, what's our second ordered pair? 2, 10. So we're going to go walk into the house 2 and go up the stairs to 10. All right, y'all go ahead and fill out the rest of it, and then I'll go through it and we'll see if y'all's graph matches mine. Okay, so then we're going to have 3 and 15, 4 and 20, 5 and 25.